Tonight on The Searchers. From the heart of the Yucatan jungle, this elite team of cave divers searches where no man has gone before. The incredible Mayan cave.
Being trapped or being lost are the two things that concern me the most.
Adventure inside the world's longest underwater cave on a journey to the center of the earth. And the blockbuster Twister made them heroes, but the real storm chasers of Tornado Alley know this is no movie.
Tornadoes kind of remind us that there is chaos out there.
It's the violent side of nature, completely out of control.
Man, look at that motion.
And they were history's most brutal pirates. But when Hitler's empire finally crumbled, the Nazis hid the stolen wealth of a continent anywhere they could.
Right there.
Now, exclusively, the story of the treasure hunters who attempt to uncover the elusive plunder of the Nazis. Also, this man is climbing and photographing every suspension bridge on Earth. Join his quest as he scales the treacherous cables 450 feet above San Francisco Bay. They are driven to go where none have gone before, to witness what others fear, to find what has been lost, to touch the unknown. They are the Searchers. Mexico, the Yucatan Peninsula.
Dawn in the land of the Mayans, a vast, flat expanse of jungle entirely void of surface rivers. An expedition prepares to penetrate the roadless interior.
Let's start rolling. Time to move.
These searchers are at the leading edge of one of the world's most dangerous activities. They are an elite group of cave divers. Their goal on this expedition is to extend the boundaries of the longest underwater cave on Earth, to go where no one has ever gone before. 41-year-old professional diver Mike Madden is the expedition's leader.
Number one rule on this expedition is to stay alive.
In the jungle around them are the remnants of the lost civilization of the Mayans, a civilization that depended on access to pure, fresh water. The ancient Mayans and their descendants found that water in cenotes, their sacred wells. Mike Madden's underwater exploration of the cave he named Nohoch Nah Chich, Mayan for giant birdhouse, may explain how those wells could support cities of tens of thousands and never run dry or become polluted. Farpoint Station, their destination. This is a cenote like the Mayans used, a natural well eroded in the limestone. This will be their access to Nohoch. The two dives they plan here are far more complex and dangerous than ordinary dives. After 12 hours of discussing and revising their dive plan, filling tanks with their on-site air compressor, and checking and rechecking hundreds of pieces of equipment, the team is finally ready to dive. The lead divers will carry up to 5 air tanks apiece on their 6-hour journey into unexplored territory.
The beauty of this cave just takes me in. It washes away every other thought, every itch, every pain, the rain, the humidity, the bugs, it all disappears. And for 6 hours a day, it's magic.
Nohoch is like a river of 75-degree fresh water with many channels that flows only 20 to 30 feet underground from the Yucatan interior to the Caribbean Sea. The cenotes are the only openings to the water from the jungle above. Through their continuing exploration of this cave system, Mike Madden and his team have uncovered and mapped the vast, untapped reservoir of fresh water and a geological treasure.
The Nohoch system at present is over 30 miles long. It could be 100 miles long. The geological potential here is for it to be thousands of miles long. It's just whether or not we have the time, the resources, and the energy to continue the search.
The object of this expedition from Farpoint Station is to explore the remote northern sections of Nohoch, possibly finding a connection to a large adjacent cave. The team must speed through the known portions of the cave to the distant areas where they will begin their virgin explorations, for they're in a race with time, measured in the number of breaths their air canisters can hold. Always following a single guideline, they form a train with their scooters. The first diver breaks the water's resistance for the others. This unusual technique was developed by Madden and his team, but the effortless speed of the train masks its drawback. If the scooters fail on the return trip, the divers might not have enough air left to swim out. In places, the cave gets small and dangerous.
When you're in a low visibility situation, believe me, you are a lot more respectful of that line because you know that your fingers on that line is the only way out. If you pull on it or you lose control of yourself and stretch it too far, it can break.
Chuck Stevens, a trained industrial engineer, will work as a lead diver or push diver, squeezing through claustrophobic passages far from any entrance to discover new areas of cave.
If you go cave diving without any fear, you're a very foolish person. This takes a lot of discipline, dedication. You have to be very comfortable in this environment.
Being trapped or being lost are the two things that concern me the most. There's a good friend of mine says there's a little dragon that lives right back here in the back of your neck, and when the hairs stand up, your job is to slay the dragon before the dragon slays you. When you get in a fearful situation in a cave, you've got to deal with it, or you die.
1.5 miles from the nearest cave exit, the team begins laying new line and exploring virgin territory. They've left their scooters behind. They're in a huge room, much deeper than any other they've encountered in Nohoch. They call it the Blue Abyss. No one has ever been to its bottom.
The Blue Abyss drops vertically straight down from about 10 feet in depth all the way straight down to 240 feet.
Because of the increased pressure encountered at great depths, their air consumption at the bottom of the Blue Abyss is 8 times what it would be on a normal cave dive. Chuck Stevens becomes entangled in the line Mike Madden is laying. The problem is compounded by the concentration of nitrogen they are breathing, producing a condition known as nitrogen narcosis.
Nitrogen narcosis is this effect where you feel very intoxicated. Rapture of the deep is what a lot of people call it. Then your decision-making process is reduced, and it can cause a lot of problems.
In the cave, if something goes wrong, any small problem can be completely fatal to you if you haven't thought about it beforehand.
That was a bad-ass dive. We could have had a potentially very, very severe problem tangled in a line at 200+ feet. This could be very, very serious.
But no one panics. The problem is resolved, and with 1/3 of their air gone, the divers begin their return to Farpoint Station.
Once we reach that 1/3 consumed, then we have to turn around and we save the 2/3 of all of the different bottles as a reserve to get us out in case of a problem.
They emerge from the cave at 1 a.m. in time for a late dinner. The recesses of Nohoch know neither day nor night.
Truck will go through first, we'll pass equipment through to him, and then we'll come through just to that.
By morning, they're planning their final dive.
It looked like there were some really good leads heading towards the northwest.
There was some undercuts that looked really promising, man. You could see the
some
flow
flow
in
in
there.
there,
There's
yeah,
something
yeah.
happening
Oh,
there.
yeah.
They ride the scooters a full mile into the cave to a point they call tanks on, tanks off. Here, each team member must take off all his air tanks, squeeze them through a small opening, then squeeze through the opening himself in order to continue the exploration.
I always stop and think about what I'm going to be doing, which bottles I want to take off, and I take it off in real slow, sort of methodical way. I make sure I stow all my regulators so they're not dragging in the silt. You then have to put it all back on again and make sure you get all the hoses straight and everything's available when you need it, and continue on.
Complex procedure at tanks on, tanks off takes 45 minutes. It will have to be repeated in reverse on their way back. Now they'll set off for an area they've appropriately named the dark side of the moon. About 2 hours into their dive, tree roots verify that they're only 30 feet below the jungle. Near the roots, they find a blind cavefish, one of the only creatures that lives in Nohoch's sunless interior. There is virtually no food chain in the cave's nearly sterile environment. They continue another mile to the end of the guideline. From here on, the true exploration begins. Behind them is the total darkness of the water-filled Nohoch. Ahead of them is the unknown. Chuck Stevens and Mike Madden begin laying new line.
When you're exploring, you try to lay the line into the cave as quickly as possible. If not, there's a possibility that the silt-laden water will overtake you, and this can be very, very perilous. If you lose visibility in this virgin passage, you could have portions of the cave ceiling collapse on you if you inadvertently crashed into the ceiling or anything like that.
When you've got that reel in your hand and you turn the corner and there's a new room and you know that no one's ever been there, and you're the first person to see it, and you have to decide where to go from there, traveling across that room, there's an electricity, there's a feeling there that's like no other feeling on Earth.
I suppose a little bit of its selfishness in that places where I explore, not too many other people would really like to go where I go. And so I basically have a domain of my own.
They deliberately limit the amount of line they carry so that they will not be tempted to explore beyond their dive plan goals when the going is good. On this dive, they empty their reel, a cave diver's mark of wild success. They've laid line in a quarter of a mile of newly discovered cave. Promising leads entice them onward, but it's time to head home. After an exhausting 6-hour dive, Madden and Stevens surface.
What a great dive!
Why do we do this? I still don't know.
But it's fun. Yeah. Some days you eat the bear, and some days the bear eats you, and we ate the bear today, baby.
On expedition with the searchers, Mike Madden and his team have set both depth and distance records in the world's longest underwater cave. But Nohoch still beckons.
The Nohoch Cave is in my heart and my soul. It's what when I go to sleep at night after an exploration dive in here, I dream about cave diving. It permeates every part of my life. It's all consuming.